Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of Superman and Lois. It was called Collision Course. And at the start, we see Lois ringing the bell at the end of her chemo. She then decides she's going to go see Pia and try to get a confession out of her about killing Mannheim's prior boss, which Lex Luthor went to jail for, as a way to motivate her dad to let Mannheim see her. Lana's getting ready to meet the governor and seems to have her eye on a possible bigger future in politics. Kyle pitches his story about someone in town having powers to Chrissy, and she has to kind of beg off from publishing it without giving away what she knows. Clark wants to take the boys on a men's day, and they seem not interested. In fact, they decide to go to a keg party that they got invited to via text from Sarah to Jonathan, which is disturbing because I don't want to see them end up together. Jonathan has a girlfriend, so I don't know how likely it is, but it would drive me crazy if he ended up with her. Anyway, Mateo gets ready to go see his mother while wearing a cufflink that apparently is carrying a cure for Pia's illness given to him by Mannheim. Clark gets tickets to a wrestling thing to take the boys to after previously making plans with them to do something, or trying to anyway, and they inform him that they have other plans. Lois and Pia have a conversation during which Lois updates Pia on her situation, her own situation, before asking her to tell her story, and says that when she publishes it, she'll be fair and won't just tell the story of the monster running loose in Hobbs Bay, to use Pia's words. Chrissy tries to tell Lana about Kyle being wise to the big secret, but she doesn't hear her because she's focused on the governor's arrival. The boys arrive at the party, and Jordan tries to connect with Sarah and her new friend, former mayor's kid, but it doesn't go well. Pia then pretends to Lois that Luthor killed her and Mannheim's old boss, even though Lois knows it was Pia, so they argue about it. But Pia doesn't confess. At the party, Sarah and Jordan argue because he's still in love with her and can't help but wear it on his sleeve. It turns out that the governor is a bit of an old crow down on men. The cops show up at the party, and Sarah drives off in her car with the ex-mayor's kid with no lights on to keep the cops from figuring out which way they went. And when she puts the lights back on and swerves to avoid a deer that suddenly shows up in her path, she rolls her car and almost gets killed, but Jordan flies in to save her and the ex-mayor's kid. The ex-mayor's kid, by the way, is named Junior, and he tells Kyle on the scene of the accident that someone rescued them, but Sarah denies it. Jordan then tells Clark what happened, and Clark reads him the riot act because he was at a party and drinking. Kyle goes to tell Lana what happened, and the governor figures out that Sarah got in trouble. Lois has a second go at Pia, and they continue arguing, but Pia eventually agrees to tell Lois what she wants to know after she sees her son. Lana and Kyle read Sarah the riot act, and then Lana and Sarah both pretend not to know what Kyle is talking about when he keeps talking about this unknown superperson. Clark then confronts Jonathan, but it turns out that he was only drinking water at the party. But he's still guilty of lying to Clark about his plans. Mateo does visit Pia, and he injects her with his father's cure, and when Lois goes back in to see her after Mateo leaves, Pia begins forcing Lois to help her get out of there using her abilities. But it turns out that she didn't really need Lois's help because she's just blowing the place apart with her ability. Anyway, Kyle confronts Clark about the person that saved Sarah, whom he thinks is Jonathan, and he keeps insisting until Clark hears the trouble at the DOD and has to take off, at which point he pretty much is forced to reveal himself. By the time he gets there, Pia has escaped, and we see her have a reunion with Mateo and Mannheim, during which three of them are overjoyed, but I suspect that her cure is temporary. I expect that it's going to wear off and that she'll be even sicker afterwards. But that remains to be seen. I thought this was a good episode, but I didn't think it was anything special. I think the performances are great. I think Lois and Pia came off as two friends who really did have a misunderstanding, as two people who care about each other and regret the way things are. I feel very much for Jordan. He's in love with Sarah, and he has to see her all the time, keeping company with other guys and being friendly with his brother. And I really feel for him. I'm kind of not happy that she's pissed at him for not being able to hide how he feels about her. I mean, yes, you're not interested in him anymore romantically, and yes, he has to stop trying, hoping you're gonna get back together or whatever. But you can't you can't force him to wear a mask all the time and hide how he feels. You just have to deal with the fact that he still loves you and try to understand it and stop being a bitch about it, quite frankly. I'm a little annoyed yet again because they still didn't have Bizarro in the episode. Like there's three left. Like, is he going to be in the episode or not? Did they just have him there so that Manheim could make his cure, or does he plan to use Bizarro against Superman? Are we going to see that? Who knows? 3 episodes left, and there may not be a fourth season. We still don't know. They still haven't said. I have a feeling they're going to wait till the season ends in order to say, because they want as many people to keep watching as possible, which might not happen if people feel like it's not going to get a season 4 and they bail. So I don't think we're going to know before the season ends. But that's really it. Like I said, okay episode, moved the plot forward. The acting was good as usual. I feel bad for Jordan. That's really about it. So I'm going to get out of here. I will be back to review the episode next week. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.